And just like that, the 2025-2026 season is in the books. The Seattle Seahawks are our Super Bowl champions, 27-13 over the Patriots. And in a lot of ways, guys, this game actually gave us the things we were talking about leading up to the big game. Not perfectly, not cleanly, not in a way that made every lineup sing, but the core ideas were there. Kenneth Walker was the engine. We talked about the possibility of Seattle controlling the game, leaning into the run, and letting Walker close the door. Instead, he ended up being the spark from the jump. Early touches, early production, and he set the tone for how this game was going to feel physically. It wasn't some late clock killing stretch. He was the one pushing the game in Seattle's direction from the very start. Sam Darnold, on the other hand, never really took off, didn't even get to 210 passing yards, made a couple of mistakes, didn't take care of the football. And that lines up with what we've seen from him before. When the pocket isn't clean, when things get muddy around him, he's not the type of quarterback who's going to escape and create. He needs structure. He needs rhythm. And when that's disrupted, the efficiency drops. Now, New England took away Jackson Smith and Jigba. And that was interesting because it forced Seattle to win a different way, but the Seahawks still found a path. They didn't panic. They didn't overreact. They just leaned into what was working. And for us, guys like Barner and Hollins were actually nice DFS options in the right builds, not slate breakers, but pieces that fit the scripts we were talking about on the one-game slate. On the Patriots side, the game kind of played out how you would expect. Drake May showed flashes, but he's still a young quarterback. He made mistakes. He forced throws. And once the game tilted, it was hard for them to recover. One of the more interesting decisions was the New England Patriots backfield usage. They leaned on Ramondre Stevenson ahead of Trevion Henderson in some key spots, especially in pass protection, and it showed. Stevenson wasn't getting hats on people, wasn't holding up in protection, and the tells started creeping in. You could almost see the defense recognizing whether he was staying in or leaking out. And at that point, the offense becomes very predictable. Again, just a defense like Seattle's, you can't really afford to do that. So in a lot of ways, the Patriots were exactly who we thought they were. Overmatched, a little undermanned, and trying to survive on effort and situational execution. They hung around as long as they could, but the gap showed up eventually. For Seattle, though, this is a fascinating offseason. They've got one of the largest cap spaces in the league, top 5. Last I checked, that gives them options. They can re-sign Walker, which is a real possibility, keep the core intact, and still make meaningful additions. If I'm looking at the roster, the first place my eyes go is the offensive line. It's not a bad unit, but it's not a dominant one either. And we saw it again in this game. When Darnold doesn't have a clean pocket, the offense changes. He's not a mobile quarterback. He's not going to escape and turn chaos into positive plays. So if this team is going to stay on top, especially as other teams spend the offseason studying them, the next logical step would be strengthening that front, because teams that can generate pressure with just 4 rushers are going to give this offense real problems. Still, credit where it's due. Incredible season, incredible finish. For Seattle, the other thing that they may think about is you need a secondary receiver. We saw the Patriots take away Jackson Smith and Jigba. We know that Cooper Kupp is getting a little older. They have some other guys there, but no real true second. Now, you could bring Cooper Kupp back, but I don't think he's the second. Like, you could actually bring him back for so much less, near minimum type of a situation. He would take less than he made last year. So I think to keep the core together, he'd be interested in doing that, and you can then use that money elsewhere. But they definitely do need to look at a receiver. Mike McDonald and that staff brought a clear identity to this team, and it paid off. Now we head into an offseason where there are already changes afoot. Clint Kubiak is out and off to Vegas, and those coordinator moves matter more than people think. That's really what the offseason is about for us. Process. We start tracking the coaching carousel. Which coordinators land where, which systems stay intact, which teams keep the same staff and upgrade the talent. Those are the teams that usually make the biggest jumps. The one where you keep the same staff and upgrade the talent. The ones with continuity and better players. And on the flip side, when a team loses a key piece, like the Rams losing offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur, something like that matters. Now, LaFleur wasn't necessarily calling plays, and so I will walk that back a little bit, but I think my point is made, right? The changes that especially revolve around play calling tendencies need to be noticed. That changes pace, that changes identity, and when identity changes, our expectations have to change with it. So we watch, and now we take notes and we track the moves because the next edge usually starts forming months before week one ever gets here. As for this season, eighth season of the process, it was a ride, some great calls, some tough beats, and one lineup that flirted with the top before falling short. That's DFS. That's betting. That's football. But the process held up. The reads were there. And that's what we carry forward. So to everyone who tuned in, listened, followed along all season, caught it on YouTube, thank you. Seriously, it means a lot to have people riding with the show week after week. So I really appreciate you all. We'll be back in the off season, just before next season, tracking moves, watching depth charts. Maybe I'll try to do a over the summer, sort of a series for you guys to get you ready. But the point is, we'll be ready for the next run because the work never really stops around here. We know what the process, what we're about, and that is we want to learn, scout, win, and repeat. Thanks for a great season 8, guys. Peace.